A complete way of life would not only tell you how to worship in a temple on a particular day, but it would tell you how to interact with your neighbors, what are citizen rights, what do you do with thieves, how do you implement laws. So that political aspect is what we refer to as the Islamic State or the Caliphate, not necessarily ISIS's version of that.
Okay, yes. So ultimately, that is a difference in our understanding of kingdom. We track together with the understanding of the internal kingdom or caliphate, our submission to God, that unites us into a brotherhood, into a global family that transcends race or nationality. But then beyond that, as Muslims, a caliphate would include then the political, geographical place where that gets lived out holistically.
Yes, yes.
Is it fair to say then that is something that could be achieved through violence if the violence is used justly? In other words, I don't want us to impose upon you our ideal of nonviolence that we take from Jesus and say, hey, wait, Muslims are being violent in any context. Yes. That's our ideal. But you follow the standard of Muhammad, which it seems to me is trying to use a just war theory for using violence appropriately rather than objecting to all violence.
Yes. So in the example of the Prophet Muhammad, we see both examples. We see the example of him being like Jesus when he was in a situation similar to that of Jesus. So when Prophet Muhammad was part of a persecuted minority in Mecca, then certainly turning the other cheek and repelling evil with good, and all of this is part and parcel of that. But then on the other hand, when you're in the position of King David, when you're in the position of King Solomon, now obviously a different set of rules apply. And I must make the disclaimer, just to be responsible, that the majority of Canadian Muslims may not necessarily agree with me on that. Now, whether they sincerely don't agree or whether they're just scared to voice their opinion, but we have many nominal Muslims just like you guys have many nominal Christians. So I want to make it clear that there'd be liberal Muslims out there that would say, no, you shouldn't mix politics and religion and stuff like that. I think they haven't thought out their worldview very carefully. They haven't thought out Islam very carefully. And certainly their views go against 1400 years of the grain of our scholastic tradition or our normative tradition, which does see a role of religion in politics. And to those people, I mean, this is a big topic, but just to finish on that, when people often ask, do you believe in mixing politics and religion? I ask, do you believe in mixing politics and ethics? Now, surely no one will say, no, we should divorce politics from ethics. Okay, but where do your ethics come from? If you're a Christian, I imagine that your ethics would come from the Bible. They would come from the New Testament. And therefore, religion will always get mixed into politics. And to try to divorce them completely, I think, is a very artificial type of divorce.
Right. So the idea of separation church and state, that's not a Quranic idea.
No. So I think you made a very good point about not superimposing the expectations of one's own faith and the assumptions of one's own faith on another faith. That would be similar to me pointing at a police officer and saying, I'm better than him because he carries a gun. I don't carry a gun, I'm a peaceful person. No, the police officer has a different role to play. And so the Islamic State on the political level has a different role to play. And in short, yes, we believe that there's an appropriate time for violence and there's an appropriate time for peace. And it only becomes oppression and wrong and unethical when it is taken out of its proper place and done at the wrong time or in the wrong manner.
It's fair to point out that we cannot project our pacifism on Islam. Islam is not committed to a way of pacifism. There is, it's a just war religion, in a sense, which is the majority of Christians would hold to that position. We don't, but a majority of Christians would. So the possibility of violence is not in and of itself wrong from a Muslim point of view. It is the just use of it.
I think you said it very well. So there is an appropriate time for peace, and there's an appropriate time for violence. And I've asked many pacifist Christians from groups like Brethren in Christ. I hope I got it right.
You did your homework. Way to go.
And I asked many of them, I said, look, tell me honestly, I mean, if I just slapped you right now, what would you do? And most of them were honest and said, yeah, I'd slap you back, but, I'm a sinner, I'm not Jesus, and etc. But I want to tell you the full truth. There were a couple of them that said, you know what, I would turn the other cheek and I would let you hit me. And I actually believed them. No, I really did believe them because they spoke with the same conviction that I see in you when you speak. I believed them. But then I asked them, what if I were to slap your wife here that's standing next to you? He said, yeah, then I'd slap you back. And if he didn't do that, what else could he do? He would call the police officer who would come